We're in Moscow in Latah County, and I'm here with.
Tara Huderberg.
And over the course of your life, have you observed any changes in the climate?
Yes.
What kind of changes?
Well, since I study climate change, I have observed the temperature record, so how many degrees above normal the climate reaches or temperature reaches each year in Idaho and beyond. Also monitor anomalies, so extreme events, whether it's extremely cold or extremely warm, and wildfire activity. And then I've lived in the Pacific Northwest my entire life. And so this is anecdotal, not scientific, but just knowing from as a kid, like that I never smelled smoke on the west side, and I don't remember hot summers or anything ever. Like 90 was not something I ever experienced in the 80s and 90s of the 20th century. So the 21st century has been much hotter.
And how has that impacted you and your family?
So growing up without air conditioning or needing it, not ever needing it, and now needing, window units to be able to sleep at night is, I think, hard. And our house doesn't have ductwork, so we can't put it in. So that's impacted us just on a, sleep. You want to call it sleep deprivation for me. And then ski season can be pretty spotty and erratic in terms of snowpack because we're skiers. So it's impacted us that way. We're still fairly sheltered from the impacts of climate change because we're not farmers or foresters. But I would say that but the kids in the schools around here, there's not air conditioning in the elementary schools in Moscow. So the kids are impacted that way.
When did you first learn about climate change?
So in 1998, when I graduated, I was in an undergrad at Pacific Lutheran University in the mid-90s, and I was a plant biology major, so I was actually working on photosynthesis. And so I learned about carbon uptake by plants pretty early, but towards the end of that, I had a research internship that was about measuring the exchange of carbon dioxide between the atmosphere and vegetation. And so then my first position was climbing eddy covariance towers, is what they're called, in forests where the instrumentation is all at the top of the tower, but it's measuring the net exchange of carbon dioxide between the atmosphere and the forests, and then telling us how much forests are taking up carbon dioxide and helping abate climate change. And I've really been working on that ever since. So a long time ago. Yeah.
And what do you think we can do about climate change?
I think we need a carbon tax at the federal level and globally. The only way we can get out of this is by decarbonizing the energy sector, and the only way that's ever going to be incentivized is through law and policy. So,
and how do you think climate change is going to impact future generations without action taken?
You will have more sunscreen. No, it's not really sunscreen. I think the heat stress is a lot, right? It's just a lot of heat to deal with and to dissipate, and shorter ski seasons, more energy crisis if we don't decarbonize, less food globally, not so much in the United States because it'll be fairly buffered for a while, but you'll be dealing with that globally. Water scarcity, heat is going to cause more evaporation, and there will be less precipitating out of the sky. They're just going to be less, so the whole experience for future generations is going to be longer, hotter summers, less food, harsher on health conditions, and then probably more inside days instead of outside days.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
One of the things we've heard around the state is that, especially this last winter, people point to that as climate change. And maybe could you address
You mean
that?
because the snowpack was high?
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah.
It wasn't really any higher than last year. It was just different timing.
Well, we were in different places.
Yeah. But I mean, in Idaho. So the weather, this is the standard, right? Weather happens regionally, locally, and at short time scales. Climate happens over longer time scales. You can have weather events that appear to be correcting for what we call longer-term climate change, but the average over time is a decrease in snowpack and an increase in temperatures. So just because it snowed more this year and it felt more normal to people, that doesn't mean that it won't snow less next year and the next year and the next year. And so then the average is less snow over time.
And has the wildfire season impacted you or your family?
The smoke, right? So everybody's dealing with the smoke. And I think, smoke season, as we call it in Moscow, is normal, but it's now more than a few days at the end of August. It could be now. We already had one smoky day. Several days per summer that the AQI is in the hazardous air quality range, like the equivalent of living in Beijing, China, where people just wear masks because of air quality every day. And we've that's one of the great things we've never had to deal with here is we've always had great air quality, and now we don't every day of the year, and not just a few days in the fall when there's the normal smoke season, because wildfire's a natural process. It's not something that's only caused by climate change. It's just been increased by climate change, right? And exacerbated and have a longer season for it. But the west side cities like Seattle and Portland, and they never had a smoke season, and they do now.
Okay, thank you so much.